Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
That's right. Welcome back to Soccer in 60, your weekly look at all five major professional soccer teams here in the Southland: LAFC, LA Galaxy, the MASL Zone, Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club, brought to you by SAC Health System. And Timmy K, it doesn't matter how weather delayed the matches are, we will try to bring you all the content here on Soccer in 60.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do our best because, you know, it is raining, snowing, whatever it does in the middle of June at 8,000 feet up in the sky out there in Colorado. We've got a great show for you guys. We've got a great interview with Coach Onua Obasi from the Empire Strykers. And, you know, sometimes the connection when you're dealing with people from England that are in England, it's kind of like English food. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's a little crunchy.
Yeah, look, you get a couple of pigeons on the telephone lines over there, and then all of a sudden that connection gets a little hit and miss with Coach Obasi, but it was wonderful. We do want to mention we are pre-recording this episode Wednesday night, and we are still waiting for that Galaxy result to finish. So we're going to put Galaxy all the way at the end. So for all of you Galaxy listeners out there, we're hoping we can get one or two of you guys on the best 11. We'll have to see. I don't know. They're down 2-0 at the half, but we are pre-recording, and we're going to get you guys in just a little bit. It'll be at the very end, not normally one of our first two, as you know, we always do it. So, but again, it doesn't matter, right, Timmy K? Whatever the weather's like, it's beautiful here in the Southland, not so much in Colorado, but that's okay.
And that's okay that we have 80 degrees and sunny skies here in SoCal. That's why we live here. That's why we pay a big giant weather tax there, Scarf.
Absolutely. Experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans in partnership with MASL Zone, Empire Strykers. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Empire Strykers at Toyota Arena. So don't miss out on the excitement. Ride with Omnitrans to the game. We're going to talk all about LAFC next. And if we do that, I get to bring on my partner in pod and, of course, not just friend, but host of this show on so many occasions. He calls himself a cameo today, but he's absolutely not. One Christian Philly Philemon.
To steal some lines from the great KRS-One, if you don't know me by now, I doubt you'll ever know me. I never won a Grammy. I won't win a Tony, but I'm not the only podcaster keeping it real, because when I grab this mic for a hot take, all you listeners go, ew. Yes, this is a cameo role, Scarf. You're saving me my precious voice, which I'm going to be honest, hasn't really recovered since TST. 21 games scarred me for life, but what a good time and good to be back with you boys, repping the TST and Bumpy Pitch, baby. Empire Strykers, Bumpy Pitch.
That's right. Look, we'll talk about TST, Empire Strykers for sure in just a little bit, but let's talk about LAFC. Look, there was the ES Tunis match against Esperance where LAFC, let's be honest, they dropped an absolute stinker of a match, and then staring them in the face is the Brazilian Giants, probably playing the best of any club in the Club World Cup without having the benefit of playing Auckland City, would be one Flamengo. And let's be honest, Philly, LAFC stared them down and came out with a draw, a huge point, and more importantly, a first goal for LAFC in the tournament.
The game against the Tunisian side, and keep in mind, a team with 100-plus year history and some really good talent. The only thing about LAFC's performance that we can really sum it up as would be the poop emoji. Straight up, point blank, blunt as can be. But against Flamengo, a team top four, no question, in South America, one of the most successful teams in Brazil and one of the most valuable, a team that could easily make it to the Final Four, but they've got a tough contest heading up against Bayern over the weekend. One of the best clubs, you and I spoke about it on our podcast earlier, perhaps one of the best clubs LAFC has ever seen in its history. And they hung out with them. They stayed with them. They kept it close. Denny Bouanga finally got himself a goal, although that was answered shortly thereafter. And we had a lot of contributions from our good friend 000 Wall E. Post. That's right. The woodwork was beyond helpful, made more saves than Hugo Lloris did. And at the very least, yeah, we got a point, but not just a point, Scarf. $1 million to go along with that 9.5 that we earned by beating Club America to come into this competition.
Listen, Tim, wouldn't it be nice if we saw any of this $1 million that Philly's talking about right now? But Tim, I know you watched the match too. I mean, look, I believe in the soccer gods, full stop. I'm saying it right here. That's how Auckland City is able to draw against Boca Juniors after being outshot 41-3. But Tim, anybody who watches that match comes away very, very lucky if you're an LAFC fan to not have been down heavily with all the posts and all the crossbars. We got away with one, coming away with a point and a tie.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Carf and Philly. It's the biggest thing is that the pesky pine trees don't don't stick around in Portland, right? They showed up here in this game, and like you said, the post, the crossbar. It's amazing to me that it wasn't 3 or 4-0 at one point, and to escape with that 1 point and the $1 million that you get for the draw is amazing. And the MLS is going to have to do something with all of that dough. They're going to have to distribute it somehow, some way to the 3 teams or to all the teams in MLS, because they are redoing all of their scheduling because of these 3 teams made it. And with Miami going on, they're getting a whole ton of dough, $21 million to make it into that second round. So I know MLS isn't going to do it. They're sitting on $500 million from the San Diego entry fee, and they're going to sit on this $30-40 million that they're getting from the Club World Cup. They're not going to give it to anybody. They're going to stick it in their pockets.
No, you're probably right. But Philly, let's think about the entire run here during the Club World Cup. Look, it started with a gritty loss against Chelsea 2-0. We have now mentioned the emoji that shall be used to describe the match against Esperance. And of course, this 1-1 draw. All in all, it's been a roller coaster. But if you look at it, they've played pretty much the way that almost any Club World Cup team has played. You got some good moments, some bad moments. But ultimately, Philly, I think LAFC leaving with their head held high.
I completely agree, but I would add the Club America game very much a part of this as well. Sure. We needed to beat them in order to get into this competition to begin with, because as a reminder, it was León that should have been involved. But the owner of León also owns Pachuca, conflict of interest. León goes out. We played Club America in that playoff. That's how we got in. So a $10.5 million prize bag of money is what we got, considering that we weren't necessarily prepared for it. I think we did as good as we can. Just to put things in context, you take the top 3 players from Chelsea and they make more than they're worth more than the entire LAFC roster is concerned. So you got to keep that in the back of your mind. Esperance, a different story, but look, Tunisian Giants, who have a history of winning 19 championships since 2020. Since the year 2000 hit. This is a very successful club, and Flamengo we mentioned as successful as it gets within South America as well. We did as good as we can, and we should hold our heads as an LAFC support. Should hold your heads up high, because going up against some stiff global competition and holding our own was pretty darn good, and that just sets the stage for what's going to be the restart of the Major League Soccer season, and it's going to be a big one this upcoming weekend as they take on the Vancouver Whitecaps, a team that actually just got the crap kicked out of them by San Diego recently. They got a loss keyed, let's put it that way.
Yeah, look, San Diego FC, it looks fantastic right now. Again, 3 All-Stars, and we'll talk about one from LAFC in just a minute. But restarting MLS regular season play with Vancouver, I mean, after LAFC puts in a good result like Flamengo, you have to be hoping, Tim, right, that this momentum carries its way into this match with Western Conference leading Vancouver Whitecaps. Okay, I think what I worry about, Philly, is that little bit of a letdown, right? You're preparing for these giants like Flamengo and Chelsea and Esperance, and now all of a sudden you've got to get geared back up again, playing against, by the way, Tristan Blackman, the All-Star. It's been an interesting lead up to the Club World Cup, and now the letdown Philly. We got to hope that LAFC is able to keep their foot on the pedal against Vancouver.
Well, you want to talk about a letdown? Vancouver just had one because of the fact that they got Olaski'd by SDFC. They're now no longer in top pole position in the Western Conference. So this is going to be a team that's going to be looking to fight back and rebound against an LAFC team, like you said, coming off of a FIFA Club World Cup. But I think they carry that wave of momentum going into this game against the Whitecaps on Sunday. It'll be an interesting response to see how they go through it. It would have been a different story if they were playing a team the likes of the Colorado Rapids, and I just bring them up because obviously at the time of this recording, they're playing against the LA Galaxy and winning. I would be more discouraged as an LAFC player playing against a team that's a bottom dweller as opposed to one of the top teams. But a big statement against a very tough Vancouver team is just what LAFC needs in order to get the ball rolling to move forward and finish off this MLS season successfully as they can. And more importantly, get home field advantage come postseason.
Yeah, one other big thing, by the way, the goal scorer in that match against Flamengo is now a 3-time All-Star in one Denis Bouanga. There's only been 2 3-time All-Stars in LAFC's history, and the other Philly may have a bobblehead somewhere of this other player as well, Carlos Vela. We know what Carlos Vela means to this team, or meant to this team, I should say. But Philly, for all the Denis Bouanga haters out there, and if you go on LAFC social media, there are more than a few. Philly, talk about what Denis Bouanga actually means to this club.
He's going to make he's going to be on the trail to be the only player in Major League Soccer history to have 3 consecutive seasons where he scored 20 goals. He's got 82 goals across all competitions, and he has more heart than 99% of the players within Major League Soccer. Here's the guy that plays box to box with his hair on fire, metaphorically speaking, and wants to dominate, score, and win. He is never satisfied, and that's what I love. This team needs a player that has a burning desire to win and to score goals. And Denis Bouanga, quite honestly, on the Mount Rushmore of LAFC players, he only needs 11 more goals to tie Carlos Vela. And I'm going to ask Carlos Vela a question real quick. Carlos, will Denis Bouanga surpass you as far as being the leader in LAFC for goals? He said yes. For those watching, you see what I'm doing. For those listening, I've got a Carlos Vela bobblehead and a Denis Bouanga bobblehead. These two are the greatest players right now to ever play on LAFC, but Denis Bouanga will go down as the leading scorer in club history.
This is why we bring him on for all the LAFC talk. Philly, I absolutely love you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Me and my Carrot Top brigade of props.
National Core, one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers and a proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strykers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. To learn more about National Core and their mission, go to nationalcore.org. And if we could magically bring on Philly one more time, why not?
Hot diggity dog.
Look at that. We just wanted to have a little bit of, a little bit of setting the mood here before we bring you back on for the Empire Strykers. Philly, bottom line is massive re-signings are coming down the pipe for Empire Strykers, and this should be a really fun offseason.
Yeah, at the time of this recording, and you're watching this on a Thursday, we got Justin Stinson, who just re-signed. We got Tony Delatorre, who just re-signed. And we also got Brian Orozco, who just signed. A core group of young, very talented players that significantly make a difference on this roster. Justin Stinson, an MVP-like season, signed on for a couple more years, played with West Ham over at TST, which is a nice 180 for him because he was there as a kid, youth academy, one of the most electrifying players in Major League Soccer. Tony Delatorre playing in a position, and head coach Onua Obasi is going to allude to it, very crowded, but getting significant minutes. And what really is his rookie season, only played 6 games the prior year. And of course, Brian Orozco, the kid keeps getting better and better. We'll make an argument for why he is the best goalkeeper in Major Arena Soccer League. But he'll have his work cut out for him because after what Brandon Gomez did with Bumpy Pitch winning $1 million, and of course Clayson DeLima playing with West Ham, it's an embarrassment of riches. But to have those 3 sign on speaks volumes for the direction that the Strikers are going to go in. And coach is going to say it momentarily in this interview. The Strikers team coming into next season will probably be better than this one.
Yeah, Timmy K, I might have jumped the gun a little bit. We've got Onua Obasi, coach of MASL's Empire Strykers, coming up pretty much right now.
Yep, let's go to that right now. Philly, take us away.
All right, our guest today is the man who returned the Empire Strykers to the Major Arena Soccer League's playoffs after a 3-year absence. For that accomplishment and for his innovative tactics, he was awarded 2025 MASL Coach of the Year honors not even 2 years after leading Newtown Pride FC to its $1 million triumph at TST, the world's most prestigious small-sided soccer competition. Joining us from his native England to discuss some major roster news surrounding his Empire Strykers is the man, the myth, and soon-to-be legend, Mr. Onua Obasi. Coach, welcome back to Soccer in 60.
Nice stuff, Billy. Cheers for the intro, mate.
Of course, sir. It's good to see you. It looked differently being in England than in Cary, North Carolina, but that was the last time you and I had spoke. And what have you been up to? I seem to recall watching you put cleats on, chasing a ball around just a couple of weeks ago. Did I somehow fall down a rabbit hole, hit my head at a bar? Did I imagine that? Did I travel back in time, or did that really happen earlier this month?
Yeah, we had a few visa issues right at the tournament. We're finalizing our roster, and I guess I was fortunate enough to still be in a position to play and contribute a little bit. And I got into 2 games, and we won both the games I played, so I can't complain.
Good times. All right, so speaking of TST, you coached Newtown Pride for the 3rd year running and advanced to the quarterfinals after winning it in 2023 and making the semifinals last year. Like, what's your assessment on how this year's TST went for Newtown Pride? And are you happy with the way the team played, your coaching choices, and of course finishing in the top 8?
Yeah, I think when you look at the result, not fantastic top 8. Really wanted to get into that final, at least match the previous year with the semi-final finish. But in a weird way, I was more disappointed the year before because we lost a game we should have won. That we were the better team. Whereas this year we got beat by Pumas Alabama, and they were the better team on the day, and I couldn't really begrudge them going through. So I slept a little easier that night than the year before. And obviously coaching for a year, 6 months with Empire really helped me focus on what I felt the team needed, and to be just more professional in my approach to setting up the team for the tournament. I thought we played very well. The 5 games we won. We won 5 games, and we were the better team in each one, and we played some tough teams. We beat Boca Dallas, which was one of the best teams in the tournament. We beat the Liga Foot 7 team, who were exceptional, and we did it convincingly, which I think is a testament to the players we picked and obviously the tactical approach. And unfortunately, the Pumas game, we had a little bit of a mix-up with our preparation. I was coaching another team, a women's team, and kind of got that game ran late because of the weather, and the boys didn't prepare maybe as well as normal. The game got started early, so a few things out of our control, and maybe didn't give us the start we wanted in the game. But they were better. I can't take anything away from them. They got to the final and probably deserved to win the final, so they were a really good team. But yeah, that's how I'd kind of summarize it.
Let's stay on TST for a minute. Total of 16 players that wore the Empire jersey during the 24-25 season played at TST. Obviously, you're busy prepping your teams, getting them ready to go, but were you able to follow most of the striker guys as well? And if so, what are your thoughts to share?
Obviously working day to day with these guys, I know how good they are. I know some players, take more plaudits because of the way they play and maybe their points and things like this. But as the coach of many of them, I was not surprised to see a lot of the quality. You see these guys day in, day out, and there's a consistency to a lot of professionals. You're playing football every single day, and it brings a level of consistency. So I wasn't really surprised. Seeing Andy Reyes out there, just a solid player who goes about his business, and you might not notice him, on the score sheet so much, but he glues the team together. And yeah, so he's one who I was happy to watch out there. Alan, maybe didn't get as much minutes as the other guys, but another player who's just solid. When he's on the field, you can trust him, both sides of the ball. So yeah, it was nice to see those boys get to the final, and obviously they won it. 6 of them won it, so good for them. Momo as well contributed defensively, was really strong. So yeah, it was lovely to see. I was happy that I could root for them genuinely in the final. And yeah, I was celebrating when they won, to be honest.
Awesome. So you mentioned it, 6 of the striker guys played with Bumpy Pitch that won the final. And as you mentioned again, that you were getting to cheer them on from the stands. What was it like seeing the guys battle alongside some of their rivals from the San Diego Sockers? And
Yeah.
did you get a chance to hang out with the boys after and celebrate into the evening?
Nah, I think it's good to keep a healthy distance between coach and player, especially when they're drinking. They know I don't really like the party side of things. Not that I'd ever begrudge them. A good celebration after a win of that magnitude, of course. But no, it was interesting. Yeah, San Diego, obviously, they had a ton of representation at the tournament. They're no surprise. They're a great team. Individually, they have some of the best players in the league. And, we played against a couple of them, and a couple of them were on bumpy pitch. Obviously, Charlie Gonzalez was kind of a standout, scored the 2 winning goals that kind of brought them from a losing position to winning $1 million. So, he was on our team, on our TST team the year before, and he obviously missed a big chance that could have put us into the final. And then this year he kind of redeemed himself and, scored the winning goal with 2 great finishes. They weren't easy finishes, and he made them look really easy. So yeah, it was good to see, and not often will I root for a San Diego player, but when he's playing alongside 6 of my guys, then it was easier to celebrate that win,
Of course. I'd love to talk more about TST because you and I both had the honor and privilege of attending it, but we should probably shift gears and look at some of the recent roster news surrounding our Empire Strykers. The club recently announced 3 new signings. Of course, I'd like to start by looking at Lucas Ramalho, MASL veteran, despite his young age. What have you seen from him during his time the past 3 seasons playing with the Texas Outlaws, and what does he add to the team?
Yeah, I was really excited to get Lucas. He's a 1v1 specialist, really good at breaking players down 1v1. Obviously, when you play on Mesquite, on Texas Outlaws, they weren't a team that maybe showcased his top level. But when he did get the ball, if you're watching closely, you could see a lot of quality. He played against us, and he made it onto the scouting video. Very, very deliberately showed him, hey, if you let this guy be isolated, and you know what he did. I remember he got the ball on the left and did a move I've seen him do, 10 times before. He beat our player and nearly scored a great goal against us. So he's a player I'm really happy to bring in because, he's going to put pressure on defenses and maybe take a bit of pressure off Justin to be, one of the solo, 1v1 type players.
Moving on with another young midfielder, also from TST, 10-15. He actually stayed in the same hotel I did when we were in Cary, North Carolina. Dyerson Gratterall. Is it safe to assume that he appeared on your radar during this year's TST? And so what stood out to you about him that made you feel like he is absolutely in need for the Strikers?
You know what? I actually was at a tournament in Houston, maybe a month before TST, actually, kind of scouting. Me and Jeff had spoke about the value of going to these tournaments, and Dyerson was someone I saw at that tournament. His team actually had just got knocked out, but I felt as though he played really well, super composed, seemed really comfortable on the ball, but also could defend, had a bit of bite to him. So I remember his team lost and they had a meeting in the corner of the tournament, of the venue, and he happened to walk by me. I was kind of waiting, lurking in the shadows, and he walked by me and I said, hey, good game. Sorry about the loss. Have you heard of indoor soccer and, professional training every day? If you love football, it's a great place for you. And he was super enthusiastic. So, we spoke for a while, kind of got to know each other. He seems like a really humble guy, just a really good character, as well as, like a really quality player, young age, young player. So, yeah, we got an agreement, and, yeah, really excited to bring him in because it's clear from TST, obviously he was firmly on my radar at that point, but it was clear from TST that, this guy's a standout type of player.
Yeah, real quick before Tim asks you the next question, I got to say, how does one lurk in the shadows when they're like 8'11", Coach? Come
on. Hey, Coach, finally, Empire signed of the last of the 3 new guys, Ben Setta, fresh out of college. How'd you become aware of him, and what qualities made him an attractive signing for the club?
Yeah, I think actually Manir Alami, Agent Manir, I call him now, because he plays in the off season, he plays a lot of these tournaments, tournaments in Chicago, different parts of the country. He has a good eye for talent. He kind of knows me. Me and him have a good relationship, so he knows me and what I'd expect and what sort of characters we're trying to bring in, and he knows the level. So he kind of was like, "Hey, I played with this guy. He's really good. Can you check him out?" So I watched. Went back and watched a couple of games, like full games he'd played, and I could see, even though he's a young age, he was really commanding. He was pointing. He was organizing players defensively. He has a great shot. I spoke to him on the phone. We spoke for a good while, and I got a real sense that he's a responsible player who's open to learning and just developing as a player. So that's the sort of guy we want to bring in. And we got an agreement, and he'd be an exciting player to bring in and a really good character, I think, in the group.
Yeah, I love the guys who are out there recruiting on your behalf. That's makes a better roster and makes for some good guys, I'm sure.
Agent Mo.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and then some massive news in terms of contract extensions. 3 key players from last season have all re-signed with Empire for another 3 years, which is a big deal. Reigning Golden Boot runner-up Justin Stinson, as well as young and up-and-comers Brian Orozco and Antonio De La Torre, have all re-signed with the club through the 2027-2028 season. If you don't mind, can you talk about the significance of each of these guys and what it really means to the club to have them long-term?
Yeah, I'll start with Antonio. So he's a player who, we brought him in, and for me, his attitude to football is something that resonates with me. Reminds me of when I was younger, trying to come through and, spending every moment I could on the training field, in the gym, really, really just a love for the game and a natural love for the game that, for me, is infectious. It's something I respected about him. I'm coming down, I see him in the gym, almost every day, and wants to stay after. I have to drag him off the training field. So that's the sort of player for me who I can trust that he's not going to cut corners, because he just loves the game in that way. And and then he earned his minutes on the field. So he has that attitude, but also got into the lineup and had some good games, scored some good goals. He can strike the ball really well. And he was learning the game. So, we ended up playing, I think, 17 or so games across the season for a rookie in a position that was very deep. We were very deep in that position. So that kind of speaks to how much I trusted him, and something me and Jeff have spoke about more generally, Jeff being the managing partner of the team, is that we want players committed for the future. So we want to bring players in who have good character, who have good quality on the field, and try and get them into a longer term position so we can have some stability with the club. And Antonio was one of the first guys. I was happy to call him and offer him that extension. So really, really happy to bring him back. Brian's a goalie for me. He stood out last year. Obviously, he's younger than the other keepers, and maybe was fortunate with injuries, so he was able to appear in more games, because we have obviously 2 great goalkeepers aside from him in Brandon and Clayson. But I think he really showed. He really matured as the season went on, and some of the earlier mistakes he was making early in the season, he cleaned it up. So from a coaching point of view, it's really promising when a young player can improve before your eyes, in a short space of time. So he was someone who, again, speaking with Jeff, speaking with Seth, is hey, what can we do for him? How can we secure him long term? For me, he's going to be one of the best goalies in the league for years to come. So really happy to get him. And obviously Justin Stinson coming off an MVP caliber season, just such a fun player to watch. Probably trains one of the best players I've seen in training. It was the occasional times I put my boots on and train. The guy's a menace. Like, he's so good in training. You see him in games and you realize how good he is, but you see him in training and he stands out. In a team full of so many good players, to stand out in training, I think is the sign of a top player. And he showed it on the field. He played every game in the season. Testament to how he looks after his body off the field. For me, he's a player who you can build around, because another one, he loves the game. Just football is what drives him. He's got his head straight, and happy to have him back for sure.
Final question for you, Coach. With the recent signings and contract extensions, the Strykers roster is beginning to take shape. What's your assessment on where things stand? And are you still looking to add to the player pool? And if so, what types of players do you have in mind?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, I speak with Jeff and Seth Borum frequently. It's really cool to have that sort of relationship with with the top brass who kind of support the vision, and to talk things out and have the best approach. And that's allowed me to really look for players and feel confident that I can get the players that we need in a market that's very competitive. Obviously, there's not so many free agents, so it is about finding new players and bringing fresh ideas and fresh people into the system, into MASL. So we have a few like very close in the pipeline. And then we obviously have a few players we're looking to re-sign from last year who I thought did well, and just figuring out those negotiations. It's just part of the business. But yeah, it's taken shape. I'm very confident that we're going to be better than last year. And now it's just about finding those last little pieces to the puzzle, and also keeping a little bit of room open for the special players that might pop onto our radar as we get closer to the season. So yeah, I'm very, very optimistic. Very optimistic about what we can achieve. So yeah, definitely promising off season.
Outstanding. So already looking forward to the start of MASL. We still got the longest off season out of any of these major sports. Always a pleasure to have you on. We'll let you go now. Enjoy your time in Birmingham, in England, and looking forward to seeing you back in Southern California, doing what you do best, and that's leading our team to victory. Thanks again for your time, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Nice one.
Thanks, Coach.
Nice one.
All right, we're back from the interview, and that was fun. Like I mentioned at the top, there was a little bit of crackling. So if you're from the South, you know what the cracklings are. But that's what you get when you're trying to get in touch with us from Birmingham, England, and a couple of pterodactyls landed on the line. So, but it was a good interview nonetheless, Scarf.
Yeah, look, Coach Onua Obasi, so many great things to say. And again, we apologize for the crackling. We talked about that before, but great things to say. Philly, great things expected for the Empire Strykers coming up this season.
Absolutely. Just got to make a few more key signings. And obviously, Onua Obasi is looking in the pipeline for the rest of the roster to get filled out. So keep an eye on that. We're going to keep bringing him on to talk about some of the new players he wants to look for and the type of player that he wants to look forward to. And look, I can't wait. The MASL season will begin in November. And yours truly, of course, will be back for a sixth season on the call, play-by-play for the Empire Strykers.
Philly, real quick, I think we've got another minute or so to talk Empire Strykers. What does it mean to get Justin Stinson back in the fold? Got like 30 seconds. Give us your best Justin Stinson.
Look, he had the best season of his MASL career, and he continues to improve. The kid's barely in his mid-20s. He's one of the best midfielders, playmakers, now goal scorers. Just need to find somebody else to draw some attention so teams don't quadruple team on it. But look, Justin Stinson is the best midfielder in the MASL, and the Strykers are very lucky to have him.
Well, how about the best play-by-play man in the MASL? That's the man right underneath us there, Christian Philly Philemon, the voice of the Empire Strykers. Thank you once again, my friend, coming on for back-to-back segments. We love you, buddy.
Love you all too.
Thanks, Philly.
How he could speak from beyond. That was pretty impressive. Look, Angel City FC yet to get things going under Coach Strauss. But look, Tim, they took on one of the giants of the league, the Kansas City Current, and basically played them to a stalemate, if not for the scoreline.
And Coach Strauss talks about this at the end of the game. He said it was one of their best games of the season, if not the best. And he's been watching all their tape. And we talked about it last week on the show. The reality is this: it's going to take a few weeks for him to truly get his system implemented. But again, like we talked about, everybody has already bought into this system. Everybody's going to switch, modify just a little bit what they were playing with the first 6-7 games of the season and get into Alex's new method and mode. And I think the international break actually does come at a good time for Angel City. Given, although they do have several players on international duty and there will be limited practices and things like that, but I think just the messaging that's come across, Scarf, over the past few weeks has really already started to sink in. I think they're going to be okay long term.
Yeah, you got to wonder when that messaging is hopefully going to translate to results on the pitch. Unfortunately, and now he hasn't been a part of all of these, but now Angel City winless in their last 5 and saw themselves slowly creeping down in the standings. But you mentioned it. First of all, their next match, not for a while. The NWSL begins a 6-week-long break after this last weekend. Angel City's next regular season game isn't until August 1st away in Seattle, but they do have kind of a fun friendly. I actually had to go do a little deep dive on the USL Super League, the Carolina Ascent, coming to BMO Stadium July 26th for a fun friendly. I think that matchup's going to be a whole lot of fun. But let's back up just a second, Tim, and talk about this match against the KC Current. KC, some of the giants in the league, playing better than any club in NWSL right now. And honestly, if not for a missed penalty by Alyssa Thompson, I think that changes the entire morale, the entire feel of that match. Because just 10 minutes later, KC scores the goal and then puts it away by just dropping back and doing what they need to. But I don't know. I feel like Alex Strauss thought it was a little bit better of a result than I did. But you tell me what you think. Is he right that things are going the right way, that the players have bought in? Like you just said, is he right, though?
I think it's a little bit of two things. One, I think it's the company line that he should say to keep his players after losing at the end the way they did. But I do believe truly that this was a very good performance by the team. And it's definitely the best performance that he's had with him as coach, although the sample size is very, very small. But I do believe, based on what he's seen live and in person, it is the best performance that they put on since he became the full-time coach just a few weeks ago.
Yet it's tough to judge them against the Kansas City Current, right? Because Angel City have not played at that level all season, or at least as consistently. And look, you earn the penalty. You get a chance to go up 1-0. You got to figure out a way to put those kind of things away. I just don't know, though, is the Kansas City Current that good that they hold Angel City to just 2 shots on target over the 90 minutes? And does that make it a good performance? Look, Coach Strauss said it in his quote, right? You don't come in there and create 400 chances against the Current, but maybe more than 2. I don't know. I just the offense hasn't quite caught up with Coach Strauss yet, and I think that's the last piece to follow, is a full 11-player offensive output, and not just the uber talented Alyssa Thompson or Riley Tiernan, or when they bring on the subs, when they get a Kristen Press or any of those in there. They're going to be individually talented, but I'm still waiting for that full team experience that Strauss hopes to get from Angel City.
Yeah, I think everybody here in LA is thinking that exact same thing, Scarf, because you've got everybody's heard the message, everybody understands the message, but that message hasn't meshed between all 18 players, right? Between the entire crew, between the 11 that are starting, the players on the bench. They get it, they see it, they understand it. But as you well know, Scarf, in your life as a teacher, you could say the same thing 5 different times to a kid, but then somebody else says it in the exact same way, but emphasizes the and instead of a the, and the kid bings it, right? I mean, I remember in college, the only way I understood accounting was somebody said debits and credits, and somebody said debits on the left. I'm like, oh, that makes the world of difference. Now I understand accounting. That's why I got my degree in marketing.
Well, there you go. And look, Angel City's got to figure out how to shore up the back line. 24 goals allowed, 3rd worst in NWSL right now. Only giving up 1 to the Current, though. A very good start for sure. Now we get to talk, if I may say so myself, about Tim's favorite segment of the show, because I know he bleeds Orange County Soccer Club better than anybody else I know. Look, Tim, LAFC has this partnership with Bayern, and all it's done is allowed me to spend $45 on an extra scarf that they came out with. One of the things that Orange County Soccer Club is really proving is that their partnership with Scottish giant Rangers actually does work, and it's a big reason why we've got news about Orange County Soccer Club this week. Huge signing, and this is one of the things that, as big of an Orange County fan as I am, and I try not to fanboy and homer it too badly, unlike Philly or you. One of the things is that you're right. The Orange County guys have needed to shore up their midfield. They've got a cornucopia of guys cycling through the back line and through the midfield, and
this is due to some a lot of injuries and things like that. But this signing of Stephen Kelly from Glasgow Rangers is incredible. He's going to show up this weekend. He's already in town. He's already training with the team, and he will, by all accounts, make his debut this weekend against Sacramento Republic in the Jägermeister Cup at home. And if he can mold in, we've talked about Angel City meshing together, based on the style of play that the Orange County Soccer Club plays and the way Rangers play, I think he's going to come in and he's going to bring in his great Scottish accent, because if it's not Scottish, it's that way. Different show. Sorry, that's a Saturday night show at about 11:30. He's going to come in, and I really think he's going to shore up that midfield, even if he just plays 45 minutes. But he is in game shape because he helped his prior club, Livingston FC, head back to the Scottish Premiership. So when you played in the Scottish Premiership, which is a very good league, and then come back to Orange County and play here, because of the systems they both play, I think he's going to fit right into Coach Danny Stone's system in this Jägermeister Cup, which is one of these additional tournaments, kind of like, the CONCACAF Champions League and some of these other things, or the U.S. Open Cup that the other teams here in LA do play. And Scarf, I want to talk to you about this because Orange County has not played very well in these extra tournaments, right? The U.S. Open Cup, they made a big deal last year. They brought out a kit for it. They blew out in the first round. Same thing happened this year. They made a big deal about it. They were talking heavily about playing well in the U.S. Open Cup. Fell on their head. And they haven't played very well in the Jaeger Cup so far, Scarf.
And I absolutely love USL's Jägermeister Cup. It pits clubs from both USL Championship and one rung lower, USL League One, against each other in a group stage format and then a knockout later on. And I got to say, one of the clubs I love watching is AV Alta FC, this new upstart League One club who plays out of old Jethawk Stadium out in Lancaster. They have done a beautiful job, by the way. If you haven't had a chance to go see Lancaster Stadium and how they've been redone, it has been really fun to go out there and see how that's been working. LAFC 2 lost a match to AV Alta FC earlier, and they're one of the teams in this group. I mean, how cool is it that you get teams from two different rungs of competition, USL Championship, USL League One? But you're absolutely right. They're 0-2 in the Jägermeister Cup so far, 2 losses in 2 matches, and now they get to play a team who's right above them in the USL Championship standings in Sacramento Republic, and a team that, look, LAFC's played them in the US Open Cup. They tend to rise to the occasion in these one-off tournaments, so it's going to be fun.
I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think it's going to be fun. Hopefully the Orange County boys come out with a little spiciness to their game. I think putting Stephen Kelly in this match right as his first match, which doesn't count in the USL Championship league season, is a great place for him to show up. Yeah. And it should be very fun. So get out to Orange County, go see them at the Champ this weekend. They've got great ticket deals on it. Go on to orangecountysoccer.com and get your tickets. It's going to be a great time, and it's going to be a very well played match.
Yeah, Tim, no such issues with the weather down in Orange County, but we know we've pushed this segment all the way to the end because of the weather delay in Colorado, and the Galaxy fans probably wishing this match could have been put off completely. Another loss in a tough season for the Galaxy, 2-0 to the Colorado Rapids, their first match since June 14th. And this one, it went bad early, 2 goals within the first half hour of the match. And before we get into any of the particulars, you got to wonder, and I'm teeing you up for your favorite answer with this, is there any hope left of the Galaxy making the playoffs?
No.
Yeah, look, he's been asked on several podcasts now, several different times. And Tim, you're absolutely right. I think just too many points now dropped in these last 2 matches. That's 5 points dropped, and they couldn't afford that.
No, they couldn't. They had to get an amazingly high number of points. They had to get something like they were sitting on 7 points and they had to get 44 is what we were figuring it out. And if you do the math, it's winning. It's going on win streaks of 4 in a row, 5 in a row with a tie, not even a loss most of the time. They could only give up like 1 or 2 losses in the entire 17 game stretch. And it's just impossible for the Galaxy to do it. And that's why, you tell me if I'm wrong, Scarf. That's why we talked about it in the pregame, that we may never see John McCarthy in a Galaxy uniform again, at least not during the MLS regular season.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Mitrovic didn't play terribly in this one, but still he gives up the 2 early ones. McCarthy, I don't know what Greg Vanney is doing with the goalkeeping situation down there. It's been a mess all season. They've gone back and forth. It's hard to feel like either of the 2 keepers have been able to build any sort of confidence, let alone any type of rhythm over the course of the season. I think we'll see Mitrovic at least obviously through the All-Star break, 4 or 5 matches until the All-Star break. Blown away, though. I wish we had Rob here to talk about the Galaxy's playoff chances, because he's the one that brought this up maybe 5 to 10% even before this loss. But I wonder how the Galaxy supporters are feeling coming out and really getting it taken to them by a club that didn't want the ball, right? Colorado lets you possess the ball, and yet you find yourself down 2-0, a first half in which 2 other goals were taken out of the net from very clear offside calls. But as a Galaxy supporter, you're watching this match and you're seeing your team down 2-0 at the half, knowing that's probably your season in a nutshell right there.
For sure. And when you control the ball 70% of the time, 69.4, let's round up to 70%, and yet you've given up 2 quick goals, like you said it, in the first half hour. You only put 5 shots on frame the entire game, and you had the ball and the entire time basically, and Colorado puts 4 on frame with only 30%. I mean, come on. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of east-west and not a lot of north-south on this one, Scarf.
Yeah, look, with all the possession, all the passing, all the numbers that if you just look at the box score, you think, okay, it looks like Galaxy should have at least come away with some more offense in this one. How about neither team generating over 1 XG? I mean, not even close to it. This was a tough one to watch. A bit of a weather delay not helping the conditions. It's just been that kind of a season, though, for the Galaxy. By the way, just a little quick segue. I know the Galaxy supporters probably want us to be talking more about their U19 squad than we are talking about the senior squad, with the Galaxy U19s defeating, of course, out of New Jersey, the Cedar Stars Academy of Bergen 3-1 for the U19 MLS Next Cup. Congrats to them. And oh, by the way, the MVP of the tournament, a kid by the name of Dylan Vanney, who I think, if you give Greg his chances, he wants to bring up his kid. That's right. It's his, and they has twins, by the way. It's Dylan and Mason, twin boys. I'm sure Greg would love to bring up Dylan to help out this offense at some point this season too.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be worthwhile. I mean, you're playing a bunch of these younger guys, which you should be, when especially your season has gone awry like it has. You need to be picking up these younger kids, and to have him come up maybe on an emergency basis for, one of these 5-day contracts or whatever it is, pull him up, see what the kid can do. Because I think it'd be fun to watch the kid play coming off such a great season with Ventura.
Yeah, and by the way, going back to this Galaxy match, if you want to watch a goalkeeper almost kill himself 6 minutes in, he impales himself on the post. I'm glad he's okay, Colorado's keeper. But look, you just look at the run of play and the style that Colorado just allowed Galaxy to possess, and then just how quickly they were able to counter 2 quick ones in succession there. And again, like we mentioned, it wasn't until 75, 80 minutes in that Galaxy were even able to find their offensive stride. They looked better in stoppage time in the last couple minutes of the match than they looked through most of the 90. And one of the questions I had when looking at this game, watching this match, with Cerrillo picking up that yellow and the way that they were playing, I think you got to call into question a little bit, did Greg Vanny wait too long to bring on guys like Diego Fagundes and Christian Ramirez? These are two proven goal-scoring offensive options. If you're playing for your season in that moment, at like the 60-minute mark when Cerrillo picks up that yellow, don't you just have to push all your chips into the table, Tim, and say, look, let's play for, I'd rather lose 4-2 than 2-0 like this?
Yes. And
I love it.
I mean, you've got to change tactics. I mean, everybody's bringing guys on 60 minutes. Oh, you got to play them this, play them that. No, you don't. If you're starting to stink, start changing people out at 20 minutes in, 25 minutes in. Who cares? Right? Because if you are really wanting to do what I think the Galaxy are wanting to do and get a lot of these guys minutes or at least generate some offense, and Marco Royce is playing great, right? It's the best he's played since he's been in a Galaxy uni. You got to give somebody for him to give the ball to. And this is the problem. And hopefully this weekend, because it is a quick turnaround with San Jose, hopefully he figures this stuff out. They look at this tape or at least burn it or at least look at it and say, why am I doing, 700 passes side to side and only 15 north-south?
Yeah. And you mentioned it. You have a healthy, playing like peak Marco Royce right now, where you got to be thinking we got to get the most out of this window. It makes me wonder, maybe that July 1st deadline, we know they're trying to get John McCarthy out of there. Maybe we'll see some other players move, but it is a quick turnaround as they head to San Jose on Sunday. And one of the things that was going to be really interesting by pushing this off as much as we did, will we get any of the Galaxy on best 11 after this 2-0 loss? And don't worry, Galaxy fans, we do have a couple Galaxy players in the best 11. So let's talk about it. First of all, goalkeeper Angelina Anderson called in to the U.S. women's national team yet again for her performance against the Kansas City Current. You got Alana Kennedy, Megan Reed, Marlon for his first half performance against Flamengo, because he came out at the half, and Amiro Garces for this match against Colorado for the Galaxy. And in the midfield, of course, that vaunted 4-5-2 or 4-5-1, excuse me, that we're running there here on the best 11. Midfielders Igor Jesus and Mark Delgado of LAFC, along with Timothy Tillman. Gabriel Peck for the Galaxy for his performance against Colorado, and Macy Hodge for her performance against Kansas City for Angel City. Kind of interesting that we had two players on LAFC for their performances against ES Tunis, but that's for me to argue with our producer Gunnar about later on. And then the forward, of course, Denis Bawanga and the front flip against Flamengo as LAFC getting on the board in the Club World Cup, and the super sub, Galaxy's Marco Royce. And I think sometimes they would prefer him coming off the bench to get as much as they could. This is a very solid best 11, like we have most of the time. The player who I'm always excited to see on here is a player who I feel like she's just about to hit her superstardom stride, and that's goalkeeper Angelina Anderson for Angel City, called into the U.S. women's national team. And Tim, I'm hoping she finally gets her first minutes for our nation's team.
I hope so too, because she is going to be a great addition to the national team, and she played lights out against Kansas City. You give up that that goal late, but playing against one of the best teams in the league, I'm all about this one. And who I really like also from Angel City is Macy Hodge, playing really well in that midfielder as what we've got her as one of the 5 groups in there. I think she's just playing lights out lately, and it's fun to watch her.
Yeah, I know it's a bummer for you, right, with Orange County not having played this last week. You don't get to see any Orange County players on there, but that's the nature of the beast. But 5 for LAFC, 4 for Angel City, and of course 2 in the 11, and then our super sub Marco Royce for the Galaxy. Pretty evenly divided, despite the up and down nature of things. LAFC getting 2 matches to grab some players from. And look, if you go back and look at the numbers and the performance against Esperance, the team out of Tunisia, LAFC, ultimately the result was terrible, but Igor Jesus and Mark Delgado continue to be stalwarts in the midfield for LAFC.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things is why LA Galaxy are having the season that they're having. Not only did 40 goals plus go out the window, but also Marky Delgado It's one of the key contributors to the downfall of the LA Galaxy. And he's playing, 17 miles north, which is a drag. But you know what? You got to love the guy. I mean, he goes in, meshes immediately. We've been talking about meshing a lot on the show today. And he meshed into LAFC right away, immediately became a starter, and has just been a stud all season long, Carf.
Yeah, 10 matches in, Mark Delgado was the unquestioned MVP for LAFC. Now I think Denis Bouanga has taken that torch and run with it. But I think another thing that's encouraging for Galaxy fans, and I know the loss doesn't help things, but Emiro Garces played much better against Colorado in this one. So they have to be happy to see one of their backline players making our best 11. And again, we kind of just touched on this a second ago. But off the bench, Marco Reus, you got to take advantage of that window if he's healthy and playing this well.
Absolutely, and we were talking about it a minute ago in the pregame. Is that if you are not getting the offense out of your guys, don't wait until the 60th minute. Don't wait until the 72nd or the 75th minute. If you guys are stinking, bring guys on at the 30th minute mark, 25-minute mark. Just because you're a starter doesn't mean you need to even finish the half. These are things that the coaching staff have got to realize and pull the plug earlier. It's okay to pull the plug on a guy 20 minutes into a match if he's not making the plays.
Well, and look, all the Galaxy supporters, you may have felt like your team was snubbed on the MLS All-Stars, but not here. Not here on Soccer in 60, where you can make the best 11 every single week. Again, we want to thank all of our good friends at SAC Health System. This is Soccer in 60. Don't forget to follow us on all of your social media platforms. Like, subscribe, turn on all those notifications. Tim, it has been an absolute blast to scour the Southland with all the soccer knowledge and get to talk about these 5 incredible teams week after week. Another wonderful show with you, my friend Tim Kolach.
Yeah, it's been great doing it with you, JR. It's always a lot of fun. Philly was hanging out with us today. We missed out on Nina this week, but it's been great. And I was at a great community event earlier tonight and talking with a bunch of the striker players. And it's just great doing the show with you, Scarf. I appreciate you, buddy, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Absolutely. And our shout out to our buddy Rob, our Galaxy compatriot who was in the press conference while this is still going on. This has been Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System.